Okay, I'm going to go ahead and do a reaction video to my own video. I'm just going to play it and watch it and just tell you today is July 28th, 2023. I had just researched how to do layers. And so I learned how to do layers. As I explained, I saw a YouTube videos of an artist cartoonizing themselves by sketching all the features on their face. But then I watched another video and I realized I could move that layer, all these things I could do in the app Procreate. I could not afford Photoshop. I'd gotten it for my birthday a couple years before, and then it just didn't work anymore because then they wanted you to pay yearly and I couldn't afford it. And I don't do anything funny. I don't adjust my photo. I don't adjust the death mask. Other than I did tilt the death mask, and I don't think I should have done that. In later videos, I really just keep this straight up and down and the mask straight up and down, and it fits better. So that's it. I'm more critical, and then you see that this is pixelated because this is from the juvenile instructor's website. Just screenshot from it. I didn't own it. You can watch my shorts to see the emails of me just sending them my videos saying, take this seriously. If you have this, just take it seriously. That was my only intent. As far as people are like, you have nefarious intent, what are you doing? Like, I've just been attacked personally like crazy since last summer. You know, that, and then people that were nice to me got really mean. Like someone today, you got blocked a year ago. So that's what happened. And then I removed comments because I don't want to spend all day responding. I don't want to argue with people. And then comment sections on YouTube suck because you can't share links, you can't share a photo, you can't explain stuff. So I'm like, I just started, just responding through a video. I'm like, I'll just respond through a video and just know that I will do that. Let's watch this. Figured out how to do layers on my iPad here with this app. And so I just barely figured out how to do layers on my iPad here with this app. And so I have a couple of layers here that I've added on top of this picture of Joseph Smith. So I just inserted that photograph that I've not edited of the death mask, and I lined it up as best as I could to the top of his head where I could see, well, just where they started it. It's obvious the death mask doesn't cover the entire face. And you'll see. And the only time I edited my picture was a month ago, and I did like a 10-minute prologue, whatever you call it. I don't even know the right words today. Intro, explaining why I was going to do that, and I just kept talking, and I'm like, I should cut that out, but then it was important, and I felt like I should say those things, and I think people thought I was angry in that, but I felt like I needed to express my emotions and be funny, because I like to be funny. I was being, in my mind, I was being funny in that one, but essentially you can see in that video, like it, and you look at this looks bigger, but it's not. It's because the light is hitting it and it blows it out, so it looks bigger than it is. And so the amount that this has the illusion of looking bigger, I did do this, and then if you sketch the death mask and put it on there, it actually matches perfectly. It does, but not in this video. See that in a second here. And so what I did was this layer, I'll bring this back and forth a couple of times, but I just outlined the shape of his eyes, his eyebrows, what I thought I couldn't see but after I looked at this picture of him a little bit longer, I could see on his left side of his nose a straight line. And so that's why that is there, in the shape of the lips, and a couple prominent darker lines going down the side of his face. So I'm just gonna bring this back. Let you look at this a couple times. I'll look at the shape of the nostril. I won't reference what I talked about last night and today, but. And so basically, when I did talk to one forensic scientist, I'll just keep them anonymous, but PhD professor teaches, I guess I'm getting too specific, but I was like, do you guys do this? He was like, oh, it's okay, but like it covers things. But in a video, so like in a paper, you don't want to cover stuff. They don't do that. And then I watched people on the other side of the world, and they explain the same process. Generally, forensic scientists will holistically look at. That's what I did before I did this. I actually had a blog where I just cropped the eyebrows, the eyes, the nose, the mouth, and said, just look at it. And then I would trace it. So I'd already started tracing using my iPad, and I had a spiritual experience when I bought my iPad, and I think the Lord wanted me to do this. I follow the Spirit, and I've had amazing spiritual experiences to do this. I'm going to push play. And then now that layer is selected, and what I can do is drag and drop that onto the death mask, which I'm just going to do carefully. Clearly that was just outlining that whole thing, and anyway. And then I hit something and it gets expanded, and I don't realize that until I put it back, so it actually gets enlarged by accident. Yeah, the death mask definitely is a lot thinner. It starts getting warped. It's not the best. Then this photo, Joseph Smith. And I had tilted this because I kept thinking that his head, I thought he was cocking his head and tilting his head until much later, that I just kind of kept his head the same way. Sometimes I would still tilt it, but especially when in 2021, it was when I read the paper, and I was like, oh, they're saying his left eye is lower than, and then I read the scientific studies by Dr. Niles Heron Van de Graaff. I just had wished I knew. I wish people had respected them and mentioned them and knew about what they said, because they noted a step deformity in the death mask and on the skull of Joseph Smith. That's huge. It took me 5 years to know that they had said anything, because no one knows that they really analyzed the skulls, and Shannon Michael Tracy paid them, and he didn't do the report, and he didn't study, but he played on the Photoshop, but he didn't analyze the skulls. He knew that he didn't have training. He paid an anatomist that wrote books on anatomy to do it. Name, Dr. Van de Graaff. He passed away. But I definitely see that the eyebrows match up, and that nose. So coming down, the eyebrows, as I said, are the exact same angle, and the eyebrow hairs itself, you're not going to see it that well in this picture. I recommend just looking at my blog and looking at that there. But the shape of the eyes, even where you can tell the eyes are closed right there, and where that hooded line is, that eye, it matches up like a glove. And the funny thing that it's just crazy. Just these lines in his face match up. And I'm looking at this. This is where I get really... And the lips really are just almost the exact same width. It's just that he is pursing his lips, so it's an expression he's making. And or the fact that he had his teeth almost completely knocked out, or they were broken. With a vial of poison. They were trying to kill him, and they shoved a vial of poison in his mouth, and it broke on his teeth, but he spat out the poison. It was just really horrific what happened to him in 1832. So it could have caused, you see, if you squint your eyes, you guys, you can see this shape. But see how pixelated it is? That's pixelated. It's a horrible analysis, but it's kind of fun to see me figuring it out. But even the chin, other than the width of the face, just because the death mask doesn't... Chin matches. It really just didn't cover the whole of his face for whatever reason. But this is blown out right there. But the eyes are the exact same distance apart, and the shadows and that shape of the nose is perfect. So I'm just going to drag and drop this back onto the photo. Again, there's a death mask. We've established that... I changed anything just there.
that line, just look at the shape of the lips. It does match. You can still see the edge of the lips.
And see, when it's such low resolution, you can squint your eyes and see this better. Sometimes, like, you can see the shape of the nostril, but when you look at Gawan Weaver's photo, you can see this one little part's really black, right? So I guess you could draw a line, but that's obviously not. Like, if you're an artist, you understand that the cartilage isn't that thick. Although it is kind of thick when you look at it right there. I don't know, but
fall perfectly into place. That line coming down matches perfectly, and then where it comes up, it's just the exact same shape. So I've lined this up as best that I could. I could probably move it around and get it a little more exact. Wow. And just even that line going straight down on the side of his face lands exactly.
Talking about the marionette line, I didn't know the right word. And taken anatomy in classes like that, but I also am an esthetician, so I did learn, like hooded eyelids, all these things that you need to be able to talk about to fix. You worked with a plastic surgeon or a dermatologist, right?
In that same spot. Wow. So yeah, this is Joseph Smith. That actually widened a little bit, but that's why that looked kind of funny.
So it got warped.
There we go.
That's how
Bring
really
that back to the right shape.
Really tech savvy.
Drag and drop it again.
Then it just really matches really well. That's the best right there.
I'm sure that this is.
So you see, I just
Joseph Smith.
It's way off.
And I'm just gonna let you look at that for a second here. Wow. So that's him. This is Joseph Smith.
So a very, very bold claim. Look at the design, look at all these things. So it's just sort of, I talk to other forensic scientists, they don't do this. But, even if something's just online, or if you started creating something, it's still yours. You still deserve credit. Does that make sense? So in the scientific world, they might disagree with certain people. I even was made aware of someone, they don't agree on everything, and they were used as a source because they read each other's stuff and they appreciate each other, and if they will acknowledge as many other academics as possible, because they are showing that they know what was found out and what they agree with. Okay, I agree with that. I'm going to quote you on this, but I might not agree on something else. So the sources are along, like a couple pages, of people they agree with. Because it's professional, even though I didn't codify this and it's not forensic, they don't use it. So it works in a video because, as you can see, I put it on there and I take it away. And so, again, it was told basically it hides stuff. So it doesn't work well in a scientific paper because you're hiding what you're showing. And that's why I put it there and take it away, because I want you to see what's below that line, right? So that's why I only did it in a video. And I knew that Teganamachi would just write this stuff. The fact that they even let me be as involved as they were was very nice. See where we're at, and I'm going to click on this. So I figured out I didn't want this to be a short, and so that one was time-stamped. So that was exactly 6 years ago that I started doing that. And I want you to see how this is cropped. It's exactly the same as the juvenile instructor. It's the same. It's pixelated like it is in the video. I downloaded it ignore. I hate that it comes up as Joseph Smith in your nut job picture. So nice. Isn't this a great start from 2009? Caution, this will, But you see how it's cropped? Okay, you see it's cropped at that point. I'm going to go back and forth so you can see that all I had was a screenshot. I didn't own it yet. And you watch the shorts to see that me just trying to find it, and I was just floored when I showed the receipts page. I brought that back just so that people just accuse me all the time of being a horrible person, of just not being honest or this or that. And I'm like, what about this guy? Sorry that I did that, but the exact words, and I prayed and I felt good about it, was to play hardball. And I'm sorry if that seemed really mean today and last night, but I felt like it was appropriate and necessary even to point out, as he was pointing out, how is that different than Curtis criticizing and saying how he doesn't agree and they are wrong, and continually going through the comment section and saying how Tegan and Machi, they don't know what they're doing, their techniques are completely flawed. But people on the other side of the world do the same thing. Holistic is just, you're just good at seeing this is that shape of nose, and then morphological comparison, categorizing it. All these steps are agreed upon because photoanthropometry had false positives. It had errors. That is their job. Do you understand that? To identify people in court in a video, a photo, and usually there's a verified photo of them, but there's no verified photo of Joseph Smith yet, right? So this was a miracle that this one scientific paper was published on this. And hopefully another one comes out. But someone has already analyzed my picture, so obviously you can understand. These people can disagree with each other, but they are professional and they respect each other's work. If someone found a new technique, they say, hey, I read in this paper, and they cite them and they say, that was a great technique. I'm going to do that too. Right? And so I didn't want this to be a short. I didn't upload it. I uploaded it before shorts existed, so you can see the date. I thought I couldn't find this, and then I found, okay, it's still timestamp good. I like that. Even though I seemed like crazy and all this stuff that I've recorded my whole analysis journey, and I'm just so glad I did it. Because it's timestamped and it's evidence. Do I take this seriously? I really do. And then just someone complaining that I don't want to debate people, and it's just sort of, you ignore them, then they're just going to bait you. Come on, man, fight me. Come on, let's argue. And you just bait them like, your mom's fat. Come on. Why won't you argue with me? Why? Like, why? Why do you want to argue? Because when you argue and you're angry and emotional, you aren't using all your brain cells. A lot of the time, you aren't thinking right. You're emotional. So I think a particular person will, anyway, this was August 10th, 2017. And so I didn't know how to, I guess it's morphological comparison, you could say. Superimpose the death mask, made it translucent and not. There are programs that do morphological comparison. I don't know how to do them. Like, I am not a Mark Hoffman. I don't know how to do crazy technical things. And so me saying that that's essentially what these $5,000 program that I, was told to me by Chris Tarr that Daniel Larson paid for, because this is so important. And of course, he probably thought he was going to get a lot of money for it. Anyway, you can adjust a lot according to Chris Tarr. And clearly I could see that. And that's the whole point that I'm pointing that out, that he made the nose bigger, like way bigger than it looks on any photo I've seen of the death mask. It's never looked that shape. And he did that just for the sketch of my guy's face. It makes me laugh. But it's manipulating reality to try to disprove my photo. And it isn't forthright. it isn't honest, because it's obvious when you look at the nose, it looks so much more narrow that he superimposed the outline of the right nostril of the Larsen daguerreotype, which I thought was mine because that is the actual shape of his nostril. But then he decided the nostril shaped different. I don't know which picture he's pulled from. And then I looked at some photos that were taken that just, you see all the paper fibers, and some versions it blurs some of the details because he's using 2 lights, and sometimes all you can see are white paper fibers, right? By Gawain Weaver. But some of these that are like this is a juvenile. I didn't own this. You see the shape of the nostril. Like, it's low resolution, high contrast, but you can see the shape of the nostril. It's like the equivalent of squinting your eyes to get the shape, because sometimes when you're looking at little details, you can't see the shape. And so the sketching can be very subjective too. And it covers things, so that's why it doesn't go into scientific paper, even though last summer Locke Mackay was saying scientists do this. And so then I've asked around and talked to several forensic scientists. They don't really do that. And then I'm like, of course, my opinion is I think I started it. I think they saw my work because the whole family had seen my videos. I'd sent them to them because a couple of them contacted me. Because one friend, I was excited about, it just snowballed, and then it got really weird and I didn't know what was happening, but now I do. Whatever. Very pixelated. See how it matches really well right there, but right here it just suddenly, it's just way off, right? But he fell on his left side, a dead man. All these people are saying that he fell on his face. And I've linked and I showed in a video about this guy that was outside and was very close to the incident, but joined the church after, and said that Joseph fell a little bit on his head first, but he didn't fall on his head, and he rolled onto his face. He rolled over. Okay, he didn't fall on his face. I couldn't find a single account that said Joseph fell on his face. He just didn't. And then it's on a loop. I didn't want this to be a short. I didn't want it to be cropped like this, but YouTube just did this. So it's not even centered, but that's not my fault. It was centered. But you see how amazing it is to look at morphological comparisons, so then you can just sort of like, okay, put your finger right there. Or you can put your finger right there. Or you can put your finger right there and see, does it line up? Does the shape of the eyes work? We can try this corner of the eye. We can try that nostril. Keeps disappearing, but you can see the corner of the mouth, that corner of the mouth, and it is very high cheekbones. But it is possible that it looks like a jagged edge right there on the skull of Joseph Smith. I'm just going to say it's Joseph Smith because when you got 6 doctors agreeing, I think that's enough. And, we got... You can just look that stuff up. But just looking at these pictures, I just love this picture of Alexander, but you can see like that swoop. Kind of like I can see in the Larson daguerreotype, you can see things that just the shape. You, as an artist, you can see those 3D things, and a computer program doesn't always see that, right? And then photoanthropometry, it just often has just been wrong. Like, okay, well, let's use the same person so we know it's the same, and then if that technique comes up, oh, this is a different person, but it's the same person because you know it is because you took the photos. Okay, it's not worth it. We're throwing that out, right? That's what happened. But you see how straight his eyebrows are. His are a little bit lighter, but he's got the swoop. He's got the swoop. He does have that very thick hair, like that painting, right? His hair looks more like that painting. So they help sustain the characteristic likeness of the father in that painting by use of the daguerreotype. And you see how very, very straight Joseph Smith III's eyebrows are. And so someone was just saying, oh, his eyebrows are too straight. Oh, my goodness. But his nose is really, really long, a lot longer than the guy in my photo, whereas Alexander's, the tip of his nose isn't. David's nose, the tip of the nose is a little bit longer. So I can see the lips, the nose, and the eye shape, I think, look a lot like the guy in my photo. His eyebrows are just, they're thinner. They're not as thick or dark as David's and Joseph Smith III's, but they've mostly all got pretty dark hair, and I think he has lighter eyes. Joseph Smith III had brown eyes, a lot like his mom. So those are the 3 boys, the biological sons. So, again, if you go to my website, you can just go straight to finding out about Tegan Lucas. So it just, I felt it was appropriate to play hardball just because of how people have been treated, but I think people just don't understand certain things. So, like, you hit me really hard, I'll hit hard back. I felt like it was time to hit back. So, yeah. I went and criticized Curtis's work, and now I'm a bitter, mean, old hag. But, sorry if it came off mean, but I felt like I thought people could just see those things, so I needed to, and I redid it today. But, yeah, I don't want to get into comment sections on YouTube. You can't share links. You can't show pictures. Like, it is a horrible way to communicate. I don't like texting people. I often tell people, do not text me. I don't like it. But then some of my family members, I actually really like texting them, but we know each other really well, right? If I don't know you very well and you're sending 2 exclamation points and I'm feeling sensitive and I feel like you don't give a crap about me, I'm going to be like, let's stop it. Let's just stop that, So I'm not bringing the comment section. Someone wants to fight with me. Like, come on. Like, I'm going to bait you. I'm going to put you down. I want to argue about every single video. I want to waste time of my life. Like, why do you want to waste your life arguing? Like, it's not constructive at all. If you're not doing anything to help me or helping anyone, why do you need to criticize me or anyone else? Why do you have to be involved? You don't, I want that guy to just stop, I won't say anymore, but, I felt good about saying all that, and then I felt like I needed to keep going to 40 minutes, and then that's when I saw it in the painting. It's just amazing how you can look at things so many times, but that's the highest resolution I think I've seen. But I didn't really look at it. I was just looking at Curtis's work on the good old Salt Lake Tribune. They've been calling themselves the rebels because they've been arguing with the church since the end of time, I guess. I don't know. It's interesting to research and find out how they describe themselves in the 1800s. I don't know, but here we are. It's been 6 years since I started doing the sketch superimposition. The forensic scientists I haven't met any that do that. I just would appreciate someone acknowledging me and saying, oh, I saw you do that. I thought that was cool. I'm going to do that too. Hey, I saw Debbie's video. She did that. But it's just more like mocking. And there's been blatant mocking, right? I can't say anymore, but people are going to be how they're going to be. They're going to do what they want to do. But I've felt the Holy Spirit, and I felt peace as I've worked on this, and I've been feeling peace more than ever lately. And I know people have been praying for me because they know I've been going through separate trials that are just really awful. Like, no, I don't have that energy to argue with you. I'm researching and I'm working. You send me an email, I'll process it, I respond. I read it, I respond in a video. And quite often I don't say your name if it was a private email, unless you're horribly mean to me. Repeatedly for months. Yeah. Have a good day.